Hi there YouTube, my name is Matai and today I'm going to be talking to you guys about my 2017 Chromag stylus. This bike I purchased after I got my Banshee Morphine, which is a 2002. I'll put a picture of it right now. The Banshee Morphine was my first hardcore hardtail, and after getting it and experiencing how awesome and versatile hardcore hardtails can be, I decided I wanted a newer modern version of it, and so I picked up this Chromag stylus. This bike was is a 2017 and it shares the geometry all the way through 2024. Chromag has not released the 2025 stylus yet, but for a bike to keep the same geometry for 7 years is pretty incredible. In my eyes, what Chromag is saying by not changing the geometry in a 7 year time period is that they've made a bike so good they don't need to make any changes to it. After riding this bike, I could see why. It's pretty incredible. It's an awesome bike. I have too big of a fork on it, so it rides a little bit sloppy. But besides that, this thing's just a tank. I'll take it off of anything that's in front of me. There's pretty much nothing I would not ride on this bike, and then you could very easily pedal to the top as it's a hardtail. This bike is not made for pedaling, even though it's a hardtail, but in my eyes, this is kind of my trail bike because none of my bikes are good at pedaling, so a mediocre pedaling bike to me is a trail bike. So the Chromag stylus has always been a dream bike for me, but I haven't purchased one until I got this bike last year. I don't remember exactly when, but the reason why I've held off on purchasing a proper hardcore hardtail, especially one like this, is because this isn't a cheap bike. And for being a hardtail, there isn't really any mechanical moving parts where you could justify the added price. So I decided to hold off until I was able to get one for a good price. This bike was listed for $800. I offered the guy $900 including shipping, and after shipping, that came out to me getting the bike for, I believe it was somewhere around $650. The shipping was quite a bit. This bike came from Dallas, Fort Worth, Texas. So the previous owner had one last thing. Well, actually, I'll just get into the parts. Now let's talk about the parts. 2017 Chromag stylus frame. I'll post a photo of the geometry specs right now. This bike, I believe, is the medium large version. The previous owner has cut down the seat tube collar, so that gives it a lower seat post height overall and gives you more room over the rear wheel. It's a steel frame. The paint color is pretty cool. It's like a metallic silver that almost comes off blue in some lighting. I do plan to do a paint job on it here in the future, but as paint jobs are a lot of work, I'm not sure when. I just hope to do it someday. This frame will last me forever, so I am in no rush to do it. This bike is designed for up to a 160 millimeter fork. Chromag, I did find one thing that says it could handle up to a 170 millimeter fork. This is a 180 millimeter fork, so it is a really big fork. It's a X Fusion 36 millimeter stanchions, air sprung. This fork came off of my Scott Voltage as I put a dual crown fork onto that bike. This bike is 27.5 front and back. I believe it's the X Fusion metric fork. This front wheel came off of my Scott Voltage as well. It is a Syncros front wheel, 20 by 110 through axle. So it was what I needed to run this fork on the bike, and I had it, so I put it on. I also put this Magic Mary on. The Magic Mary isn't my favorite tire. It has a pretty round profile, so you don't get that same side bite feeling. With how long the wheelbase is on this bike, it's actually a little nice to have the rounder tire. Cornering, you could kind of lean it over a little more, I feel. But I might change it for something a little bigger in the future. Following that up, we have 200 millimeter SLX rotors. Wrapping that is a XT 2-piston brake. And that's one of the reasons why I wanted to purchase this bike. It had the XT brakes on it. We'll continue with the cockpit. I have DMR Death Grip grips. They're my favorite mountain bike lock-on grip. I run them on all of my mountain bikes. XT levers, front and back. Pro Taper 3-inch rise handlebars with a Pro Taper 35 millimeter shorty stem. Dropper, we have a P&W dropper post. The bike originally came with a RockShox reverb dropper, which I asked the guy I was purchasing off of if the dropper functioned properly. He said it did. When I got the bike, it did not. The RockShox reverbs are very problematic, so I had to replace it. The guys at my local bike shop recommended this dropper as it's reliable. I don't remember exactly what model it is, but $200 internally routed dropper post. Really easy to install. I'd say it works pretty good, but I haven't used it for too long, so I've yet to see how it actually holds up. Rear brake, we also have a 200 millimeter XT rotor and XT 2-piston caliper. The bottle cage is just the standard style bottle cage. I like the look of them. Alright, so continuing with the drive side shifter, we have an XT shifter and XT drivetrain. XTs are a little bit wimpy, but so far it's actually held up fine. This is my first XT drivetrain, and I was a little bit skeptical. I usually run SRAM drivetrains and Shimano brakes. I also have XT cranks and these Haro premium metal pedals that came with the bike. Chromag seat came with the bike. It's a little bit worn out. As for the rear wheel, it is a Stans Flow rear wheel with a Stan's Neo hub. It's a pretty solid wheel with hardtails. For the most part, you want to make sure the wheels are real solid. On a full suspension bike, you could kind of get away with a little bit crappier wheels, but on a hardtail, you really want some solid wheels as it's your suspension. And to finish it off, I guess I have the Kenda Hell Diver Pro tire. It's a Kenda Hellcat semi-slick. It came on the bike. The bike had 2 of these tires, and I swapped out that front one as that wasn't going to work for Montana trails. But overall, it's not the best tire, I do have to say. I run the Hellcats and they're a lot better, but you could see I've actually torn off a knob on this tire, and that's pretty crazy to me. So I can't think of anything else for this bike. Hope you guys enjoyed. Have a good rest of your day. Shoot. And stay dangerous. YSM Life. Bye.